Who's doing the intro?
Well, I dare not do the opening because I'll get it wrong for sure.
That is funny.
Funny for you, rallying at me all the time.
Here we go.
Strap yourself in for Keeping It Real with Jack and Ral.
Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Ral. I am Gabrielle Dolan and...
I am Jack Phillips, not looking anywhere near as swanky as my co-host
I know,
in
you
her
like my-
red velvet.
In red velvet.
You know what you're giving off to me?
What?
Vibes of old, funny pedophilia cinema sort of organiser.
Bring the mood
Well,
down.
where I was from back in the day, in this very small town in New Zealand, there was a boy that ran the cinema, the theatre, the picture theatre, as we
Yeah.
used to call it.
Yeah.
And he always wore a
Picture
red...
theatre, listen to you.
I know, Nana. Back in the 1920s. And he wore a red velvet jacket just like that.
Yeah, well, I think that was, anyway.
You look
Is
good.
it velvet jacket? I remember I bought
beautiful.
Steve a velvet jacket from, I was in New York and I saw this one and
Was it blue?
it was
Electric
sort
blue?
of a mauve. It was sort of a
Oh,
burgundy. It was sort of a burgundy.
Steve.
And I didn't know
Handsome.
if it would fit him. So there was a young security guy there. And I said, oh, could you just please
Pop
try
this
this
on?
on? And he was young, like he would have been about 20. I'm going, oh, it actually looks good on you. He goes, oh, I've never worn a jacket like this before.
bless.
Anyway, I bought it and Steve loved
never
it.
worn it?
And no, he wears it. And the first time he wore it, he kept coming home saying, all these women just kept
Want to touch?
touching me.
Yeah,
And
tactile.
then once he realised that, I think he wears
Yeah,
it all
he
the
wears it all the time.
Wears it out, taking Digger for a walk.
I love it. Go, Steve. Hey, what is this episode about?
So this episode came from a keeper who posed a question. So once again, as a reminder, if you've got
Go
a question
keepers.
you want us to cover, just ask and we will either answer the question in a podcast
Or
episode.
ignore it.
Or ignore it. Or say this is a whole podcast episode. So the question came from a sort of a young woman who's starting out in the workforce, and she wanted to pose this question about, are your co-workers friends? And should
question.
you stay friends with the co-workers? And we sort of move this into not everyone's meant to come with you.
Which is
So-
a great topic. It really
so
is.
we want to talk about how, you have friends, you have colleagues, and sometimes you have them for a while
Hmm.
or a moment, but not everyone's meant to come with you. So that's what we're talking about
And I
today.
think this has so many legs to it. Yeah.
Yes.
So we can talk
Yeah.
about that from a leadership perspective. We can talk
Yeah.
about that from a co-worker's perspective. We can talk about it from a personal perspective
Yeah,
as far as
absolutely.
relationships. And there's some gendered stuff here too I want to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question really quickly, the first question, are your co-workers friends?
Yes.
Yes, they can be.
I mean, we
And
spend so much time at
You
work.
spend so much time with them. Over the time had really, really close to
Mm.
co-workers. Some that I'm still friends with. Some that
Today.
I still see, we catch up every once a quarter and,
Nice.
and we've been friends for 40
Wow.
years. Like
Wow.
pretty much 40 years,
Long
some of them.
Well, I know from my perspective, I've managed to stay at a job a little bit longer because of my co-workers, as in the job was shit.
Yeah, but you
But
like the
my
people.
co-workers
Yeah.
just were such a joy to spend time with. And
Yeah.
these were the days where we spent time in an office
Yeah.
or we were at a place. We weren't doing the remote working so much or at all. And it was the actual co-workers that kept me going, that kept me there, that it made me think, going to work's a joy, not because of the work or the leadership or the environment or the culture, but because of the co-workers. So in that respect,
They can absolutely be friends.
can be
I remember
really
when I
cool.
was pregnant with Alex, a woman I worked with, and we were already friends, but she was pregnant as well. And we just
shared.
it was such a support and we were friends. And I honestly thought I would be friends with her forever. Now, it didn't eventuate. And I think,
People go different ways.
we left and we sort of stayed in contact for a while, but it didn't happen. So, but we were still friends while we were there. So the short answer to that is yes, you can absolutely be friends with your co-workers.
However, not everyone is meant to come with you.
Exactly.
And I think there's something in that. So if you're a keeper listening to this and you're thinking, I really enjoy working with John and Tammy and, Mei Ling, and they're awesome. And here I am, turning up to a job I don't actually love, but my co-workers are really good. Just watch that. So I know that sounds contradictory to what I said before, because on reflection, I probably stayed too long at roles that I should have got out of because of my co-workers.
Yeah.
And that fear of, I won't have them at my next role. But actually you make friends in all jobs, I think.
You would see, Jack, a lot of people, because you coach people into leadership roles, that I think the real challenge can be when you're friends with a coworker, but suddenly you get promoted. So you're now in a leadership position, because I think that changes it, doesn't it? When you
Totally.
so yes, you can be friends or friendly, but when there's a change in power or leadership position, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I've been in this myself, this situation, and I'm certainly coaching people, and I'm coaching somebody, and I can see her right now. I can see her beautiful face in front of me right now. And this particular person, very easygoing, very friendly, very casual. Her role is definitely a people and culture role, and she has been getting coaching because she wants to really start to establish her leadership style and be able to step up. And that's based on her CEO's feedback. So we've been working on some things she can do, which is being a little bit less familiar, being a little bit more directive in her narrative, being more specific about her asks of her direct reports. And while she should remain her authentic, gorgeous self, which is fun, friendly, easygoing, informal, there are going to be certain conversations she needs with her direct reports that are probably more formal and a bit more professional. So she started to take this on, and she's doing really well. And interestingly, one of her direct reports has complained about her to the CEO, saying, I don't know what's going on with this person, but she's changed and I don't like it.
Yeah. Do you think it was too much of a drastic change, or that they just didn't like it?
Well, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't think it was drastic, because we've been working on this for a little while, and it has been a gradual, and we've spoken about that, emotional intelligence and empathy. Imagine how you would feel if all of a sudden you went from here to there. So I think she's probably managed it well, but it's still a shock to the direct report. And so she and I were unpacking this just recently, and I said, that person's issues are not with you, they're with themselves, because they don't feel they can get away with, or they don't think it's as easy anymore, which would make you start to question, are they taking the piss?
Yeah.
And should they be there? Maybe they aren't good enough, and you've been carrying them a bit. Now, that's a whole lot of stuff in not everyone's meant to come with you, but I think that style change, or that ability just to recognise I might need to act differently as a leader in this situation, even though I'm not changing who I am authentically, may mean some people don't go with you.
Yeah. And I think that the trick there is to realise that from the start, that if you're in a position of leadership, the relationship you have with the people you manage is different. Because I think what's happened here is they didn't realise that, and then they had to change. So everyone's not used to it.
Totally
it's
right.
so much easier to start from day one, setting
right.
those boundaries.
I know myself, and I reckon you may be similar, or may have been similar, because of our personalities, which is easygoing, fun, friendly, confident enough to have a conversation with anyone, really like people. Entering the workforce, I found a joy, because I had lots of new friends, if you will, and got on with everyone, and then realised after a while, actually, now I want somebody to do something for me because I've been elevated into a position of power, or I've got a promotion, or I just need somebody to do something with me. They're still a co-worker maybe, and them not wanting to do it or take me seriously, and thinking, oh, shit, what do I do here? So that need to be very self-aware. And you're right, Rael, yes, everyone can be friends at work. Yes, you should be kind and fun and caring. But there is also a time where you probably need to be directive. You need to be more professional, more formal, and particularly if you're a leader. So what does that mean for others?
Yeah.
And their discomfort.
Yeah.
And there's possibly going to be discomfort.
So then we talk to the other part of this podcast episode is like, not everyone's meant to come with you. So that's when you sort of outgrow people, I guess, people, or you've changed or whatever. There was Michelle Obama in her book Belonging wrote about this. Imagine being friends with Michelle Obama, and then all of a sudden she's the first lady.
She's the first lady. That's right. She's running around on, what is it, POTUS, or is that?
Lotus.
No,
Flotus.
Flotus. That's right. Flotus.
But she's got this great quote about you've got it written down.
I
so
have.
You read it out.
So when Michelle Obama transitioned to the White House, this is what you're referring to, Rael, it's really good. She learned firsthand not everyone's meant to come with you. In her book, Becoming the Light, Michelle reflected on how some relationships naturally faded, not because of conflict, but because growth creates distance.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? growth creates distance.
Yep.
When I think about that person I was just referring to who I'm coaching, there was distance that started to actually occur, and that isn't a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
So I relate to this entirely. Yeah, I remember when we moved to Singapore, and I was meeting new people. We were having different conversations. No one ever mentioned Australia and Singapore. Yeah, it was a very international city, and they certainly looked at Europe and the US and Asia, obviously, because Asia was becoming a real powerhouse. This is back in the early 2000s. And even though we were mixing with a lot of Australians, we were all obviously in an environment that was very much multinational. And we come back to Australia, and it was always good to see family and friends back in Australia.
Yep.
But I used to find after the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes, the conversation went back to how it used to be for us when we lived here. And yet I wanted to talk about other things. But fair enough, the people that I was mixing with, that wasn't of interest or relevance to them. And that's when I started to realise, I'm growing just in a different direction. It wasn't that they were not growing. It wasn't that they were below me or anything like that. It was just there were some people that just weren't interested, and it wasn't relevant what we were doing, and therefore the conversation I found became a little bit dull.
Yeah.
Now maybe they thought our conversation was dull too.
Yes, yeah, maybe, and it is. It's
And
like
that's okay.
growth creates distance. Well, you see, a lot of people that get divorced after 30, 40 years, and sometimes it is we've outgrown each other.
or grown apart. Yeah.
So we've grown apart, and that's because they've grown in different directions to the point
Or
where
one's
you
grown
go,
and the other hasn't.
yes, yeah. So and it happens. It
It
happens.
does.
It
does.
So we want to talk about how, and you said right, there's a gender. Women tend to stay in those relationships longer
Yeah.
than they should, perhaps.
Yeah. So we're wired for connection. I love this. I couldn't agree more. Belonging is a core human need, but women in particular are taught to be the keepers of relationships. I don't know about you, but if I relied on Richard's friendships and him to actually initiate catching up, conversations, updates, we'd be sitting on that farm pretty lonely, just him, me and Django. And maybe that's the same for you.
Oh, definitely.
I look at mum, all of the connections for her and dad are through, they might be friends that dad had, but she keeps the connection going. It seems to be something that women tend to take ownership of, yeah?
So social organizer.
Social organizer,
Steve
you're
will
right.
get to Friday and say, what have we got on for the
Yes,
weekend?
Richard says to me,
Like-
can you tell me if we've got anything on this weekend? It's sort of like, well, I mean, we're talking every minute, so how do you not know that? But of course, it's up to us, yeah? What gets put on women is this maintenance of harmony, yeah? To be the understanding one,
Right.
to be the one that keeps the connection, to be the one that stays. So when you talk about not everyone is meant to come with you, think about that from a gendered lens.
Yes.
So as a female, it's a fear of, I can't sort of lose people, or I shouldn't stop making effort to people, when in actual fact, maybe those people don't serve me any longer.
And you know what I think it is too, that they will go, what if they think, I'm up myself, or what if they think I'm judging them, or what if they, and I remember I met a woman, and I was actually talking about this, and she came up afterwards and said, I feel like I'm in exactly that situation where she was running her own business. She was like doing amazing stuff and traveling. And she goes, I catch up. There's a group of us from school that we catch up once a quarter. And I feel like I'm going out of obligation because I go and I just
Don't
like she
enjoy
was
it.
literally sort of saying, I just
Bored.
It doesn't inspire
But
me
I feel
anymore.
obligated,
But I
duty.
feel obligated. And she was literally saying, what would I do? And I go, just maybe go once a year instead of once a quarter. Ease
bit.
back.
Yeah, holding on to this dynamic that drains you, yeah, which is not serving you at all. And why? Because leaving or, making a call on it feels a bit sort of scary, or feels wrong because, I've always been their friends.
yeah,
They're dickheads, but I've always been their friends. Well, okay, so while you're being friends with the dickheads, spending the hours, that means that there's an opportunity cost there, right?
Yeah.
You're not either meeting other people or spending time with the people that really nourish you.
Yeah.
So this ability to actually make the call, and I think we'll get to it in a second about, so how do you go about that in a way that's aligned to your values and kind and caring, but does make the call, right?
Yep.
Michelle Obama didn't shrink to make others feel at ease. I love this. She stepped forward. She trusted that those meant to stay would adjust to her.
Yeah.
Those who weren't aligned would find their place in her past, not her future.
Yeah.
And that, again, goes back to what we were just talking about with the woman I was coaching. This direct report that was challenged by her change in leadership style and her higher expectations of them would either recognise that and know that she was growing and step up and stay, or they would leave.
Yeah.
And leaving might not be a bad thing for that organisation or for that leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember reading the Michelle Obama book and sort of getting insights about that, what she did. With this woman, this example I spoke about, it was, I sort of said to her, I go, so when you go, she goes, I feel like I'm just not engaging and stuff. And I go, you know what, if you stop going, like you're not giving, you're doing something out of obligation, I think really doesn't work well. But you're going, if you stop going, you know what they might be thinking? They might actually be thinking, thank God you're not here because...
She's a pain in the
you
ass.
are like,
she doesn't say much. She sits there with a cat's bum.
Like you look bored the whole time.
Yeah.
So don't
feel
you'd
obligated.
be letting them down.
No.
They might be thinking, thank God you're not coming anymore.
And it is having the courage to actually step back, to realise what no longer serves you. That does take courage, and then making a call on that. So you were talking to me before about, well, so how do you do that?
Yeah.
And I sort of said, well, I don't even think you need the conversation with people. Oh, you're not doing it for me anymore, therefore I'm not going to see you. It is just discreetly pulling back. It's perhaps spending less effort, less of your attention toward those relationships so that you make space for other relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that's not hard to do.
No, I agree. I don't think anything like that where you go, I feel like we've grown apart.
No.
I mean, unless it is your partner.
Well, yeah, well, that's right. If it's a relationship, that there's a yes.
But if it's a group of people that you've sort of been seeing over and over and you just feel like it's no longer nourishing you, and I think that's the word.
Yeah.
It's like, do you walk away feeling,
yeah,
that was fun, that was good, whatever. Even if it's not, you don't need to have the big conversation.
No,
with that.
you don't.
It's just less effort. And maybe it's a case of, especially if you're the one organising it, just stop organising it.
Well, stop organising it. And if somebody says, hey, what about, you can say, what about you organising that instead?
Yeah, or just
I don't
not
have time
available
at the moment, or I've changed
or I'll come to the
direction.
next one. I can't make this one, I'll
That's
come
right.
to the next one.
But it's having the courage to say that. I'm coaching somebody who moved interstate to a new job, and the job she had left was rather toxic, and there was a group of them that were all experiencing this toxicity. One left, the rest stayed. The one that left, I'm coaching, she moved interstate, got another role, and some of the people from the previous role kept trying to talk to her.
Yep.
And they weren't that close. They were only bound by this sort of scenario, but because they were still left behind, they felt this connection to the person I was coaching. And the person I was coaching didn't want anything to do with them because it sort of triggered the memories of this toxic environment, and said to me, they continue, one person particularly, to message me, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I said, we have two choices. One is no response, and no response is a response.
Yes.
Or say, I actually don't want to continue this conversation. It triggers me from the role.
Right.
And be honest.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, don't rush to make a decision there.
Yeah.
No response. And so she decided she would do no response. 2 months later, they are still messaging her, despite the fact she hadn't responded.
That's just disrespectful, isn't it?
It is also very sad and says a lot about them, the person that continued. She was trying to hold on. She needed someone to talk to. I don't know, maybe she was secretly jealous that she hadn't got out. I don't know. You know, what's the old the syndrome, Stockholm syndrome, where you're just so connected to somebody through something bad. So then the person I was coaching said, so do you think now I should move to actually having the conversation? And I said, well, what do you think you should do? Which is what a good coach always would do.
Good coach.
And she said, well, given I tried no response and that hasn't worked, then I think I probably should say something. And I said, yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I said, but be respectful. This person is going through something. That's why they're continuing to do this. So she did do the cutoff, and that person did stop. And I said, and the third option is if they don't stop, you can block them.
Yes. So keepers, remember, if you want to become a best keeper, then flip over to Patreon where you can subscribe for a monthly fee. You will get early access to podcast episodes. You'll get additional bonus episodes. You'll get leadership masterclasses. You'll get access to our book club, and you will get early access and notice to live events. So come over and subscribe and support us to help us do what we can do for you, plus more.
So not everyone is meant to come with you.
Not everyone. And I actually find this too, even sometimes when I coach people and myself with clients.
Yeah.
Like, you can make changes to your business. I mean, you know what? Even
Yeah.
something as simple as increasing your prices.
Correct.
Not everyone's going to come with you.
And that's not a bad
okay.
thing.
That's okay, because what it does mean is now I will work with my absolute ideal clients
Absolutely.
that totally value what I do.
And when they say to you, oh, Raoul, that's really expensive, what do you say back to them?
I say two things. I say, you deserve it.
You're worth it.
You're worth it. When they say you're the most expensive, I go, well, someone's got to be.
Love it. Love it. I just helped review a written communication from a client who runs a very successful business wanting to sack a client. Yeah. So my coaching client is an owner of a business, and they are working with a client that doesn't pay on time, that causes them way too much stress. And I've been coaching around this, and it's just not worth it. So has actually sacked the client and sent me the email to say, can you review this? Can I make sure that it's kind, it's fair, but it stipulates why? And so not everyone is meant to come with you. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. One last example, because it made me really think about this. When I was leading a high-performing team in a bank and I moved to another bank, and I remember saying to myself, and I think I might have even said it very foolishly to one of my team, don't worry, when I get in there, I'll get you over because you're so good. I got into the new role, inherited a new team, and have you guess what?
Didn't really feel the need to get them over.
Spot on. This team was even better.
Right.
So as a leader, be careful about what you promise, or be careful about what you assume before you get into the new role. Because again, you're sometimes constrained by your environment and think, well, this is as good as it gets, right?
Yeah.
When in actual fact, it can be better. So no, not everyone is meant to come with you. As a leader,
I even thought of another
as a
example with
co-worker.
my newsletters. Like sometimes I will write something, especially if I'm writing, a political leader might have done a really great speech and story. So, I go, this isn't a political post, but I talk.
Yeah.
And then, people go,
you like Liberal, or you like Labour, or you like the Greens. Yeah, it was
I've had some
specifically
people
about
go,
something.
I'm unsubscribing from your newsletter. And it was like, fine, but whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
and also, do you feel the need to tell me?
Well, clearly. You're meant to go, oh, please don't.
Yeah, it's like, okay, not everyone's meant to come with you.
And
Not
that's
everyone's meant to
okay.
like you. It's like not everyone's meant to like you. No one's going to like you. And
Well, back up. Doesn't everyone like us? Are you coming with me, by the way? Or is this a topic that you're trying to tell me something?
we'll stick together.
Good.
Okay, keepers. Well, hopefully you got some value out of that. If you did, rate 5-star rating, share it with your friends and families, maybe the ones that you don't want to come with you.
And
share it with
hopefully
them.
you're still with us by the next episode, because we do want to keep you keepers.
Yes, and remember, if you've got a question or an idea for a podcast episode,
like this one.
let us know and we will cover it.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, bye.
See ya.
You've been listening to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to tell others about it and give a 5-star review. They may seem confident, but they really are sensitive 5-star needy souls. Yeah, right. Keeping It Real, created by Jack Phillips and Gabriel Dolan. Produced by Keehlan Ferrari-Brown. And this really real voiceover, spoken by Richard Phillips.